is Kiyomi, and this is my poster on phylogeography and diversification of Anolis oculitis, which are these little guys. So basically, Anolis is a genus of lizard. In that genus, there are over 300 species. They're found all throughout South America and throughout like Florida and down in North America. They're really well studied, and the really interesting thing about anoles is that although there's so many of them, they're all found in trees, and depending on where they're found in the trees, they all look different. So like all anoles over the 300 species that are found in the canopy look a certain way. All the ones found in the trunks look a certain way. All the ones found by the roots look a certain way. So like before, there was all this fancy schmancy DNA analysis and technology. People only had to go on like morphological how they looked. So every day there are more and more of these anoles that are found out to be different species because we have the DNA technology to find this out, and that's what we did. We took 22 samples of anoles. 17 of them were Anolis opulitis, the species we're looking at, and the other 5 were other species, and that represents about 5 of the 6 general species in Jamaica. We took 3 genes, 1 mitochondrial gene and 2 nuclear genes. We ran a PCR, extracted the DNA, put it through software, Genius software and Beast software, to create these 2 phylogenetic trees. And basically, this is a tree using the mitochondrial DNA. And if you look, there are a bunch of Anolis oculitis here and down here. But there's a space in the middle, and that's not supposed to be there if they are as closely related as people think. And you can notice that back here, there's the closest common ancestor, which is really far away if they're supposed to be the same species. So basically, we took our information and looked at a map of Jamaica, and we noticed that all of the Anolis ones, so this one, or the blue one from up there, are found in the blue mountains of Jamaica, but the red Anolis.
Is it mapped that way? This is where the...
Yeah, the red ones are these spots, and the blue ones are these spots. So we can tell that because this is a higher elevation than these ones, we think that there was a common ancestor, but they got separated, and because there have been like a bunch of generations in the higher elevation, they've grown so genetically different that if they were to reproduce, their offspring wouldn't be fertile, meaning they're a new species.
So how many years of separation do you think there were in order for them to become so different?
Anoles reproduce pretty quickly, and the reason that people study them so much is because of that.
Like fruit flies.
Yeah, so like 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
This is enough for them to just say,
yeah,
hey, I'm different?
Yeah. One thing that they do, or they used to do, they can't do it anymore because it's illegal, but they used to take, like, you know how they're like tiny little islands all throughout the Caribbean? So they used to like drop pesticide on it and like obliterate every species, and then put like a couple of one species of anoles and like leave them there and come back like 16 years later, and they'd come back and there'd be a whole bunch of different species out of the ones. Yeah, within like 10-20 years.
This is normal diversity? I mean, they just normally split up?
They normally, because they normally pick certain areas of the trees to live in, and because,
So is it like with humans, like if you're born, if you're from like a warmer climate, you tend to have darker skin, and if you're living somewhere else, I mean, are there analogies to human diversity?
Yeah, it's kind of like how, so they know humans started out in Africa, looking dark, and then and then they separated, and some went to Europe, and they became lighter and had the long hair. So it's like that, but like speeded up super fast.
Yeah, because you're saying that these different species can't mate.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of not like that, because if you have a human from the middle of Africa and a human from the middle of Europe, they can still produce fertile offspring.
As we know.
Yeah. So it's more like how you have like a horse and a donkey, and they look kind of similar. They can be used similarly, but when they reproduce, they have a mule, and the mule isn't like you can't produce more mules.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they're clearly they clearly are related, but they're separate species.
So the reason why they're so simple is because they reproduce so quickly.
Yeah, so they have multiple generations pretty
I
fast.
just make an analysis of humans. So the reasons why we're